What up, everybody? A2HH live on a midday, on a Monday. How are you doing today, Coop?
I'm doing good. I'm blessed to be here.
Yeah, same here, man. It's still, I guess you can still say Happy New Year and stuff. You know what I mean? It's still like we're not even in the double digits of this year yet, but it's already traveling fast.
Yeah. We're still on Happy New Year time a little bit.
Well, with that being said, Jay-Z is dropping a song this week. It's going to be like 9, 10 minutes long from what I'm understanding. It's going to be featuring D'Angelo. So get ready for we're going to be fan balanced about it, right? As we always are about everything. But get ready for many of the usual suspects in the journalism world of hip hop to say that it is record of the year. It is song of the year already in 2024. So those expectations are preordained when it comes to Jay-Z dropping a song. And I think I froze. Rock Nation got me. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. I'm genuinely excited about the record. In honesty, Mike, I think sometimes what gets lost in the banter that we've had about this triumphant Nas and Hit Boy run is the fact that I'm a big Jay-Z fan. I think Jay is the second greatest MC of all time, which is saying a whole lot coming from somebody as critical as I am. And I'm actually genuinely excited for the record. I'm never excited for a 9 minute rap song though. Just in full honesty with you.
Yeah.
I've been doing, I told you, I'm making this the digging in the crates year. So I've been listening to a lot of quote unquote old school 1980s hip hop. I've
Right.
almost exclusively listened to 1980s hip hop this year since the year started. I haven't listened to like anything from the 90s or the 2000s unless it just happens to pop up on the algorithm. And I mean, and this is going to be one of my hot takes. It's like, man, unless you're making what's the Public Enemy song, Black Steel,
An hour of chaos. Yep.
in the Hour of Chaos? Yeah, unless you're making that song, eh,
Do we even want Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos to be 9 minutes? Because, a 9 minute song, like you said, the 80s, and I'm glad you're doing this dig on the 80s, because personally for me, obviously I know the 90s is better because it's more, has more, from end to end, has more range and density. But it's something
right.
about those 80s records. They taught us how to make hip hop records. You know what I'm saying? Like the
I
rules
think
that started with the 80s carried on until today. And I'm sure you can't find a 9 minute long, record from the 80s, a hip hop record that's just not like a DJ going off or whatever, or the beat just doing whatever it's doing.
right.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, Black Steel is about as long as it gets at about 6 minutes, but that song is epic, Mike.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I mean, it literally takes a song like that, which, I mean, for me is a top five Public Enemy song, which is saying a lot,
Yeah,
for you to even want to listen to a record that long. And quite frankly, I've been listening to a lot of records that are 5 and 6 minutes long because I've been on my 80s dig. It was more like an extended play time.
right.
And we were still carving out who we were in the era. Like, I don't think people understand. It's like 16, like 16 bars really didn't become a thing until KRS and Rakim. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, because there were
And
guys
so, like,
going for 4 verses as opposed to three because you weren't even really looking to get on the radio. Radio, I would imagine, set those parameters for rap where it was like, look, we need a song in this amount of time, this length, this is what you can fit in this length. 36
right.
Chambers with the super chat says NBC's coverage, interviews, and media buzz for a mid song, just like God did's verse. Excited for the project, but not getting expectations up. Um, I'm interested to hear where Jay's gonna go, man. I think that before we get too far into it, I do see at this point in his career, it's more about connecting with more soulful individuals, connecting with people that he didn't really connect with sonically at the heart of his career, if that makes any sense.
I mean, first of all, he's in his 50s.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
About to
you
be
and I have
mid
had the
50s, I
conversation.
believe. Yeah.
I mean, we're in our early 40s. It's like, We listen to more R&B than rap. We listen to rap about according to hip hop mostly.
Yeah.
You know, and so him going the more soulful route, I'm not surprised or opposed to. But at the end of the day, like the record got to be good, Mike. And it's like, as much as I love Fam, it's just been a long time since he's made a dope ass record. And so I'm excited because it's him, but I'm not excited at the prospect of a 9-minute biblically inspired song from Jay-Z. Does that sound like the Jay-Z record that you want to hear?
Right. Shout out to Firebird Phoenix in the chat, man. He got some music out there, 500 streaming on all platforms right now, man. I agree with you, and what I was gonna ask you, I think Jay hits a 10 on a lot of marks, right? But when we're talking about Soulful Jay, where does he rank in that? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's one of the greatest MCs of all time, but we never. What's the word I'm looking for? We don't look for him to make an album like The Roots. We don't look for him to, give us that soulfulness. Even, I mean, I'm looking at an Outkast record right now. I'm looking at Liberation when you're talking about the length of a song. Right. Songs like Liberation and Spodioti are that long because of the instrumentation, because of the breakdowns, and because of the full soulful experience. We come to Jay for bars. Live band
playing.
Has Jay ever rhymed on a record with a live band? Because I know D'Angelo does that a lot. That's D'Angelo's motif, honestly. Is there a Jay-Z record that's not an unplugged record, but just a straight-up record with live instrumentation that sticks out to you?
No, I guess that's the thing. And, and here's always been the conundrum with him. He's probably, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way at all, he's the trendiest rapper who ever lived, Mike. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He's always been, even more like, you can go back and listen to Pac's music. Pac wasn't trying to be trendy. Pac's music was just timeless. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Big's music encapsulates that era perfectly. Jay is somebody who his motif in a lot of ways is to be trendy, to be cutting edge, to be current, to be new. And so, outside of the organized noise camp, how much live instrumentation did you really hear from Jay's era? And so he never really delved into that world because it was never really his thing. And that's where it's like, well, you doing a biblical song is more reflective of where you are than where the times are. And he's always been the opposite. And so that's what I think makes it more difficult listen, is because of the expectations.
Yeah, and we do come to him for bars. And if we're talking about a 9-10 minute song, this isn't, I'm not trying to be funny. This isn't a situation where Jay-Z could pick up a flute and, we'll be good with 9 minutes. People are going to be looking for him to rhyme for a good portion of that 9 to 10 minute song.
Yes.
Unless we got D'Angelo riffing for like 3 minutes.
I was about to say, I expect a D'Angelo riff somewhere in the beginning, middle, or end, or maybe all three if this song is 9 minutes.
Right. Either that or...
like the real version of How Does It Feel, it's pretty damn long. You know what I mean? Like, so, D'Angelo does the live band 6-7 minute song thing and does it rather well. And so for the length of the song, I am expecting, how about this? If it's a 9 minute song, I'm expecting about 3 to 4 minutes of this to belong to D'Angelo and the band to make it more palatable.
Well, just from a vocal standpoint, how do you think these two mesh? Like, just being fans of both.
Do you remember when, of course you remember the record Left and Right with Method and Red, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think D'Angelo can work with anybody. You remember the Lady remix with AZ?
I love that record.
Yeah, so D'Angelo is one of those artists that, I think damn near any rapper sounds good next to him because he's so funky. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I don't expect that to be a problem for Jay because Jay is, iconic and great and second greatest MC of all time. So I don't expect the pairing to be a problem at all. I'm just worried about the length affecting the quality. But I'm excited to hear it. For me, this is a good kickoff to the year.
I agree. And we need that.
Especially after last year.
Right. Hold on one second. 1 second. Let's fix something real quick. Yeah, I agree with that. We do need to start this year off with a bang. We talked last episode about J. Cole. And so obviously that anticipation is there. What did you think about like makeups to breakups, Method Man and D'Angelo?
I like that record, but I don't love that record. But I think some of that is because I'm such a big fan of I'll Be There For You by Method Mary. Like, such a big fan of that record. It is still hip hop's greatest love song, in my opinion. And so I think that there was some piggyback off of the Method Mary I'll Be There For You effect with the breakups to makeups record, but it's still a dope song. It's one of those songs, too, that it probably doesn't get enough credit for how dope it was when it came out. It's just, I think not what Meth's core audience wanted, and it's just not I'll Be There For You. But it's a dope record.
Cool. Can I check on something real quick? Maya's walking the dog. I gotta, see what's going on.
That's fine. Go ahead.
I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, sounds perfectly good. Actually, I'll take this time. I don't know if you follow me on Twitter. If you do, you should. It's called All the Things with Coop on Twitter. I'm actually doing a station head tonight with Hip Hop Talks. Sean and Adriel actually they're still followers of this show, but Adriel is one of our staunchest supporters and one of our best super chatters early on. They've started their own thing called Hip Hop Talks, and Hip Hop Talks and me and the Fresh Out podcast. Shout out to Fresh Out for pulling up with us tonight. They're doing a station head at 9:30 for a little rewind 2023, where we're going to recap the 2023 year. So if you all are not familiar, like and subscribe to, of course, the whole According to Hip Hop page, my YouTube page, All the Things with Coop. Shout out to Fresh Out for showing me and Mike D love and respect and paying homage all the time. It really feels good to be appreciated in this space. Definitely pull up on Hip Hop Talk Station Head tonight at 9:30. Like to see us and check us out and all the things that we're going to be doing. I'm excited about this year. You're going to see me all over the place. Shout out to my dear, dear friend for life, Andrew at Mirror Music. Andrew sent me the most inspirational text message the other day. This time a year ago, Mirror Music only had 200 followers on YouTube, and now we're over 1,700. And most of you wonderful people at According to Hip Hop have a lot to do with that. So just continue to show us love and support. I have done the pilot for my show, All the Things with Coop. We're editing that out right now. I'm actually about to start getting footage for that out right now. And perfect timing. Mike D's back.
My bad, man. What happened was, man, my daughter's walking the neighbor's dog, and there was an alert in the neighborhood saying that a dog had gotten loose and bit somebody or something. So I was making sure she was good. But she's good. Had to check on that.
That's some real suburban shit when you're getting neighborhood alerts about a dog being bitten. Like when you're growing up in the projects, it's just you found out on the school bus the next day. It's be like, yeah, Cujo got loose and bit 3 niggas.
Not Cujo. But yeah, man, the expectations for this D'Angelo and Jay record, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I'm hoping for the best because, like you said, we need this year to start off well, especially after how 2023 was. Not to say that 2023 was a bad hip-hop year, but it wasn't a year of stars soaring. And I think that, Hit Boy and Nas, they did some incredible stuff last year, but I think that we've gotten so accustomed to them taking over the years that it wasn't even a shock anymore. And I say that in glowing fashion.
Yeah, here's the thing about it. When you do so much great material in a short period of time, there is some rub-off effect where you get used to it. That's why I was saying that Magic 3 isn't really probably going to get the real props that it deserves until later on.
Magic 2. I think that about Magic 2 because it got caught in the middle of all of these.
I mean, I think you could say it about both. I think we'll look back at it and be like, man, that's very what came out the same year? Was it Stillmatic and Godson, or was it Lost Tapes and Godson?
It was Lost Tapes and Godson. Because Stillmatic
it's going to have some of that effect where it's like, well, damn, it's way better than I thought.
Yeah, and it's like, do we know if Magic 3 was like some leftover songs from the rest of the sessions, or did they start fresh after Magic 2 to Magic 3? Because Magic 3 came very quickly.
I think that Magic 3 was a concentrated effort
Right.
to put certain tracks together, but about the concentrated effort and about Hit Boy's versatility, we really don't know where those tracks came from. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. What, it's 16 records, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if about 5 to 7 of those were recorded like sometime during the course of 2023, and they was like, nah, slide that over there.
I mean, you can't even tell. Like, I mean, if the only thing that tells you is whatever they're talking about. Like, if there's certain cultural references in society, those are the only things that can make you pinpoint to when this was made. Because, like I said, vocally and just the way he was rhyming on Magic, the first one, Magic 1, you could have easily told somebody that was recorded in 98.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I think that's what I mean about like how crafty they are. I think they knew that too, which is why there was the current pop culture references, like in the album, to let you know it's like, nah, this ain't no shit he recorded in 98 that Hit Boy went and redid.
Right.
That's some shit that they did in the last 90 days.
Yeah, he sounds like this.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, you're right. There was probably an intent to say, you know what? Let me make sure people know that this is new. Shout out to Dumont. The Dumont Show with the Super Chat says, guys, let the media massage fest commence after this song drops. They're going to make a big-ass deal over this song that's going to be mid. Y'all are already proclaiming this mid. I will say this. Whether it's good...
Jay deserves more credit than that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think people really understand. It's like a lot of people who think Jay-Z is the greatest MC of all time. I know Jay's catalog better than those people do. I'm a big fan, and so I'm never going to count him out.
Right. I think that he always is going to have the ability to make great material. To me, I think that it's more so about the direction, right?
Yes.
I don't know where Jay's direction is going to be at in these times and how well it's going to connect, because as you said, he's respectfully been a trendy rhymer or artist, let's say, during the peaks of his careers. And that was part of what made him constantly relevant. That was part of what made him the superstar that he became, was the fact that he was on the precipice of everything that was happening at the time. And he was able to entertain us with everything that was happening in his life at the time. So the only thing that I question at this point when it comes to Jay, and I think this is the only thing that's holding us back from getting a full effort, is, okay, what's this about to be about? What's the direction? Because I think the past 2 albums, even though 444, many people bought into that, I don't think that the direction satisfied the masses as he normally does, if that makes any sense.
Well, I mean, in fairness, you know, there are a lot of people that think that the way that we've talked about this Nas and Hit Boy run is overrated. They're like, oh no, this ain't better than Lost Tapes and Godson and Stillmatic, and it was written in Illmatic. It's like, well, maybe it's not better than Illmatic and it was written, but the rest of the shit is conversational.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're looking for quality music. We're not looking for nostalgia. I'm not looking for a Jay-Z album to make me feel like the Blueprint made me feel in 2001 when it first came out. I'm not looking for that. You're never going to get that. I think I was listening to Only Built for Cuban Links one day, and I heard Incarcerated Scarfaces, and I'm thinking about, Rap City, and, when those dudes was on the projects, on the, on the roof and all that shit, and the way I felt watching those videos as a kid in Brooklyn Zoo. I'm never going to get that feeling again. Now, I can, as a hip-hop fan, hear some dope new hip-hop and feel great about it and be like, but it's not going to be to that level again, and I feel like with Jay, and even with us doing this show, I recognize that we can look at efforts for what they are and give praise to quality and great music and not have those level of expectations. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely, Mike. I still see Ray in the elevator of the Incarcerated Scarfaces video in my mind. I still see Meth when Meth rolls up on the camera and does the actual scar on his face, like on the camera. I still see all those images like I'm still that same 13, 14-year-old kid. So it's like, Yeah, I'm not looking for that again. I have that already.
Right. At this
I got
point,
that.
I think, our veterans making quality material, it's just furthering the genre. You know what I'm saying? It's they're in no man's land right now. I mean, Jay's done it. Nas is doing it currently, where nobody's really been where these guys are at this point and be this active and make quality music. So these are bonus hours. It's kind of like what LeBron's doing right now. Like LeBron should have retired 3-4 years ago. I would be terrible to critique him for what he's doing right now on the court. Like,
Mike, he out here dunking on Paul George.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Crazy.
Brother Gabe with the super chat says, in retrospect, Jay saying to do songs that matter and not a bunch of tunes, he was probably talking about this song. At his age now, maybe he wants epic songs since he has the hits already. It's a good point. I didn't even think about when he said making records that matter. So, okay, does that statement add any more gravity to the expectations of this record?
No.
Okay.
The expectations can never get greater when it comes to him. The expectation is for you to be great.
Right.
The end of story. It doesn't, I mean, that's the thing. At the end of the day, even though this isn't what I would call in his wheelhouse or my necessarily cup of tea that I would drink from the cup of Hove, like the book of Hove, the cup of Hove.
I
Right.
got you.
Cup runneth over. Right. See all the
I see
biblical
what you
references.
did there, yeah.
Right. Right. No, I still expect it to be great because it's you. And if it's not, I'm going to say so. You feel me?
Well, you know what? With
'Cause
this
it's you.
movie being
No, it's
this
like you're
movie is a
Jay-Z. I
biblical
expect what
movie.
you do to be great.
This movie's a biblical movie. We're probably going to get a lot of biblical references, though. All jokes aside. Mad Max with the super chat says, "I'm sorry, no disrespect. The total verse from Biggie is not better than the whole verse with Maya. Them polls is nasty." Did you see that poll where we asked what's the better R&B or I guess rap feature on the R&B record? Biggie's verse on Totals Can't You See or Jay-Z on Maya's The Best to Me remix?
I
And
literally saw it.
Biggie landslide. Agree or disagree?
I agree. Big is just, it, you don't say this about Jay too often. Big's just more charismatic than Jay. And him and Pac are probably the only dudes that can say that. And this is what I mean. Biggie's voice goes to that drop and that beat better than Jay's voice does to The Best of Me. And so it's a better pairing and a fit. That's what I mean. Biggie's got that heavy boom, boom in his voice. How that beat go? Boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? It's
the big
just more of a
payback.
fit. It's a more iconic moment for rap, Mike. It's Puff and Total and Big in fucking Times Square at night with the black and the white. It's a moment, Mike. And everybody know, give me all the chicken heads from Pasadena to Medina. Get big, get in between you. Then no, it's nasty, Mike. It's
Puff is catching a lot of news and strays over the past couple of weeks.
no, he ain't
for
catching
other
strays,
stuff.
Mike. Those are bullets. Those are bullets.
Bullets,
Mike. Those are not
whatever
strays.
you
Those
want to call it.
hollows.
But
Those are hollow.
the way Bad Boy put together their products and packaged their artists and had them collaborating together, it was genius. They did a great job. And when you think about Can't You See, that's one of those moments. You know what I'm saying? Like that moment, Mace being on the remix of 112's
Only You.
Only You, yep. And shit, Big being on the original. Like those are moments, but like you said, Can't You See is a moment. You got the Big Payback sample, boom. New Jersey Drive theme, so you already got the dark there. And then Big's coming in there setting it off. I think Big, man, when we talk about niggas who set off verses, Big is very understated in that sense. There's not many niggas who can come in and set off a record better than Big. And he's proven it time after time. Whether it be a posse cut, whether it be an R&B cut, whatever.
Niggas is mad. I get more butt than ashtrays.
Fuck a fair one. I'll get mine the fast way.
Fast way. Ski mask way, nigga. Ransom notes. It's far from handsome, but damn a nigga tote. And they go Puff, what you tote?
More guns than roses, hoses, shaking in their boots, invisible bully. Like, come on, man. Like, but see, just like what we were saying a few months back about opening lines, how important that is. There's nothing more important than the opening verse on a rap record. I mean, from a DJ perspective, from a listener perspective, it sets the song off. And when you start thinking about all the greatest hip hop songs ever, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today too, that first verse matters. You can't have your best verse second, third, or even fourth sometimes. And I think, as much as I love Scenario, I think that Scenario peaking at the end kind of holds it back against other records. You know what I mean?
I absolutely agree.
Because look at All About the Benjamins. Yeah, Puff might not have had the best verse, but that verse is important and very strong.
You want to know what it is? The verse is catchy.
Yeah.
What y'all want to do? Want to be ballers, shot callers, brawlers, who be dipping in the bins with
it pulls
spoilers.
You into the song.
Yes. So, like, is it the weakest verse on there? Kind of, sort of.
Maybe.
But, first of all, there's not a weak verse on the song.
Right. You're just saying who the weakest rapper is on there, really.
I'm about to say, it's really not even a weak verse. It's just he's got...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's Kiss, and it's Chic, and it's Big, and it's Kim. Well, Puff has the worst delivery.
Right. And he would probably be okay with that. He's like, well, shit. Inspector with the super chat says, Jay's been hit or miss for the last 15 years. Let's see. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, Jay isn't making songs that matter now, though. God Did's verse was 4 minutes of wealthy billionaire talk and was empty. I hope that he doesn't spend 9 minutes of Jay's self-comparison to Jesus or struggles. Sounds like you may have gotten a sneak peek of the record. 88 Spencer with the super chat says, Happy New Year. Looking forward to the content in 2024 from A2HH. Appreciate that. But, okay, back to Can't You See versus The Best of Me. All right, Big's Big, Jay's Jay. We'll get to that in a second. Can't You See is just a better song than the Best of Me remix. You know what I'm saying? Like, the beat's better. The hook's better.
Just better.
Just a better song.
At every turn.
Right.
Right. It's not a disrespectful type of thing. It's like, no, Big and Puff and Bad Boy, we're making better records than everybody damn near.
Yeah, with the exception of Death Row, and that's about it. You know, that was why they were the competition, because, I mean, Bad Boy...
That's how he got competitive, Mike. Puff made it competitive.
He did.
It was Death Row.
I will say that. And that's one thing you got to give Bad Boy is the fact that, yeah, there were a lot of people in New York rhyming circles around folks, but they weren't making better records than the Death Row guys. The only people that were making that song for song, record, radio, album, package competitive was Bad Boy.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Illmatic brought rhyming and lyricism and skills back to the East Coast and the hip hop as a whole. Ready to Die and the Bad Boy run brought the notoriety back to compete because, man, them West Coast niggas was like literally selling triple and quadruple what the East Coast niggas was. Like literally.
Yeah,
Snoop doing 5, Dre doing 4, Cube doing 3, Pac doing 3, 4. The soundtracks are going double platinum, Mike. The soundtracks are going double platinum.
But you know why that is, and I've always said this. Songs sell records, especially in that era, even today. You know what I mean? Like, hit songs sell records. And Death Row had the hits. Snoop had the hits. Dre had the hits. Pac had the hits. And you're going to sell records with hits. Quality albums, they're great, but you're going to need that one song, especially in that day when media was basically just radio and television. You're going to need that one song that's going to pull everybody into you as an artist to make you a fan or to make new people a fan. And Bad Boy had that. Death Row had that.
In spades.
And you know what? Jay-Z found a way to get into that fold, and I think soundtracks, we've spoken of this before, soundtracks were Jay-Z's way in the game to make that impact. I think Ain't No Nigga featuring Foxy Brown being on the Nutty Professor soundtrack, which was on Def Jam, and Foxy was on Def Jam, and Def Jam needed every opportunity to show Foxy some light because she had her debut coming. All those things worked for Jay-Z with that record becoming what it became. Because I'm going to be honest with you, Coop. Here, 96, I'm 14 years old. I heard records on, I heard like Feeling It. I think I heard Can't Knock the Hustle. But Ain't No Nigga was the one that was playing all summer. And I knew that record. I didn't really know Reasonable Doubt like that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't.
I agree. I remember Dead Presidents was getting a lot of run on like BET on like Rap City and stuff.
Right.
How about this? I remember when Dead Presidents 2 debuted on Rap City. I remember watching that episode. And here was the thing about it. I was like, who's this nigga sitting down with Biggie and AZ? That was my takeaway from the record. Right. I was like, who's this guy? I was like, is that Big right there? I was like, is that A right there? Because you have to understand, this is 96. Biggie and AZ are platinum rappers.
Yeah.
Jay is not.
Yeah.
That was my takeaway from it.
I agree.
I totally understand you. Yeah.
I agree. It was like that. And,
it was like that.
And he said that too. I mean, even on Hard Knock Life. I mean, but he utilized everything he could at the time without having a major company behind him like the rest of those artists did to get to where he got to. And I think Foxy Brown was very important in that equation. I remember when Ain't No Nigga was out, and again, Biggie was in that video. This was more so about Foxy Brown. I knew who she was. I had heard her on many things. Obviously, she had the Def Jam thing going with her as well. I knew her a lot more than I knew him. And I'm sure he knew those things. That's why he was very selective with the people that he got on his album, even from a production standpoint. I got to work with Preem. Preem gets attention. Let me work with Preem. You know what I mean? I got Big on this album. I got Mary on this album. I got Foxy on this album. He couldn't afford to go out there and do this album dolo, even though he had the skill set to do it. But he had to have those features on Reasonable Doubt for people outside of New York to know who he was. You know what I mean?
Facts.
And very, very smart. And he used the vehicle for soundtracks to get to where he got to. He did it with Who You With on Volume 1. He did it with Can I Get Her on Volume 2 in conjunction with Hard Knock Life because, again, Can I Get Her is a big part of that Volume 2 run. That's Rush Hour. Boom. Volume 3, there was, around that time he had the Blue Street song, right? And then he had Hey Poppy that was after that. That was Nutty Professor 2.
Yeah. No, he's a soundtrack maven.
He might be the king of soundtracks in hip hop.
A lot of his big records have come via the soundtrack. Yes.
Yeah. La La La. That was Bad Boy 2. I feel like around Blueprint 2 time, were there any soundtracks to be named? And it makes me think. Because since soundtracks really aren't a thing anymore, unless, Jay-Z's doing it, because, this is on a soundtrack, we really don't get a lot of soundtracks like we used to back in the day. How would Jay's career have gone in this era with no soundtracks to speak of?
It's hard to deny somebody like Jay. Jay is one of those guys that his business mind is so savvy, and he's such a hard worker, and he's such a great hustler, and I mean hustler in a positive way, that I don't think he was going to be denied. No. And so he still would have found a way within this generation that works, because that's just who he is. He's going to find a way to make it work. That's what a good hustler does.
I agree.
And so I think soundtracks were just the gateway for it for the time and the era. That's what I mean. That's what I mean about him being current and always trendy. It's like, no, he probably didn't want to do all that soundtrack work, but he knew that it worked. And so he made it work because his business acumen, his work ethic is like that.
Yeah.
Always has been.
That's why when people say if Big was here, Jay wouldn't be who he is and this and that, it's like, I don't agree with that because I think this guy would have figured it out. The path would have been different, but he would have figured it out.
This is what I'm one of those people that feel that way. And it's just strictly like on a level of they do two similar things.
Right.
And one guy was better at it than the other. And so I'm not saying Jay wouldn't have been massive. You know what I'm saying? But he would not be as big if Big was here because you would go to Big first, respectfully.
Do you
Jay.
think that Jay would have outworked Big?
Here's the thing, Mike. I don't think it would have mattered. The only thing Jay has over Big is that he's more lyrically inclined as a traditional lyricist. Big's hit making skills are better than Jay's. His hook game, his voice, definitely the fucking storytelling.
Well,
the delivery is even better. Even for how sick Jay's flow is, Big's is sicker.
It is. Now, we just got finished talking about Bad Boy and its system and how great Puff was and integral in that part. Do you think Big is that deadly as an artist if he's no longer on Bad Boy? How does that change things?
I think Puff's greatest contribution to hip hop is making Big become well rounded, and so we'll never know.
Yeah.
Because I think Big's the type of MC that wanted to release Machine Gun Funk instead of Juicy.
Right.
And so we can never forget that Big's aesthetic is probably a little bit more hardcore than Jay's is. Like he's not, I wouldn't say he's more of a head, but he's more into the streets. Like he loves the Who Shot Ya and the Machine Gun Funk records more than Jay probably does love those types of records. And so how about this? Without Puff, it's a more balanced fight.
It's interesting when Jay was sitting down with Gail King, he said that on Volume 1, Big heard Streets is Watching. And Big's response was like, your whole album gonna sound like this? And I know Gail, being in the lane that she's in, she probably didn't go deeper into that question. But I didn't know if he was coming from a context where it's like, is Big saying like, nah, man, you're gonna need some bangers? Or was Big saying, you need your whole album to sound like that? You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know where Big's mind is when it comes to, like you said, him doing it on his own. Because we always hear those records that hit the radio were Puff's idea. Or Puff had to convince him to do something.
This is what I'm saying with that. The Big that I've studied was probably saying that like, oh shit, this nigga's about to give me some competition.
Right.
Not looking at him like, oh, this ain't gonna cut it, fam. He was, because Big likes the Machine Gun Funks and the Who Shot Ya records, and Streets is Watching is in that vein. So I think he was really bigging up Jay more than he was saying like, oh, fam, you got to switch this up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
And the reason why I was even more confused about it because of how Volume 1 went. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, if Big co-signed Streets is Watching like that, you still went out there and made I Know What Girls Like. You made Sunshine. You made these other records that weren't in the vein of this, so I didn't know if it came from a perspective of, okay, this is a dope song, but you're going to need more range. So I wish that Jay would have had the opportunity to expound upon what that conversation was like. But I'm with you. I think it probably was coming from that place.
Well, Jay is also one of the smartest men that you'll ever meet. And so he knows that leaving that right there like that leads you to guess about both sides of it. It's like with Big saying it like, oh shit, this nigga's coming and this shit is like ridiculously hard because it is Streets is Watching. It's still one of Jay's best songs. Definitely one of his 10 best songs to me still to this day. Or was he saying like, Playboy, you need some hits. Let's do I Love the Dough. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Jermaine Johnson.
I mean, and I'll tell you something. I think Big loved Jay more than people realize because every time I hear I Love the Dough, I'm like, this record is more suited for Jay than Big. And it's the only record on Life After Death like that.
It's the Angela Winbush sample. That's what Jay shines on. Like Angela Winbush shit, Jay shines on. Imaginary Player, I'll Be by Foxy Brown. So yes, it was made for him. Jermaine Johnson.
Big love Jay.
Yeah. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, also, Hov's American Gangster was an unofficial soundtrack album. That's funny. I was just watching that movie, and just hearing some of the individual clips in the movie that made it on the album. It's just funny, man. Like I think that was a real creative spin to make an album, but I feel like it was a way to get inspiration without having to dig for inspiration. You know what I'm saying? And those are some of the things even though that one worked out. Those are some of the things that kind of question where the direction for the next album, if there is even going to be a next album,
Right.
makes me think like, I don't know if he has that figured out. Like, for better or for worse, certain artists, and I'm not going to mention their names because I done lost too many song-for-song matchups, whether it's good or bad, I know they're going to come up with some type of concept. You know what I'm saying? But I don't feel that way when it comes to Jay. Like, I don't. Because like you said,
Right.
it's always about what's current, whether it's what's current in the world or what's current with him. And currently right now, I mean, we've heard about art. You know what I'm saying? He did that with Holy Grail when he got into the whole art world. 444 is more of an introspective and, relationships, interpersonal things. And now, I mean, what's changed? Like, we got business is business, art is art. I mean, do you just continue to give updates on those things? I don't know. I don't have the answers, but I'm just saying as a fan and just as somebody who's observed his career the whole time, I just don't see what the next direction would be.
I mean, well, to quote him, he is the subject, verb, and the predicate for this rich nigga rhetoric.
He is.
And so it's kind of what I go to him for. And here's the thing about it is like, it's funny. You know how people talk about Pusha T? We should talk about that Pusha T text that's leaking out.
We should talk about that.
Yeah. You know how people are like, this is how hard it is to exist in a lane. People are like, oh, well, I'm tired of Pusha T and the Coke rap thing. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but he's so damn inventive at it. Jay has been so inventive at the rich nigga rhetoric that he's kind of a victim of his own brilliance at it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And we never expect anybody in rap to last this long doing these things.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, hip hop has always been about being flashy. You know, it has. That come in the kit. You got to be flashy. You got to stunt a little bit. Like Rakim and Kane was dropping knowledge. Niggas had on 6 big-ass gold chains and Gucci suits, Mike.
It was happening, yes.
It was still happening. The dudes are still running the streets with a lot of dudes that was running the streets. Mike, Cool G Rap. Cool G Rap songs literally, like Road to Riches, is literally talking about how he's going to come up from slinging dope on the corner. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So all the dope boy talk, all the flashy talk, it comes with it, and nobody's done it better than Jay. And so he is a victim of his own success in the sense that it's like, well, you talk this shit so well, so early, so intricately better than anybody before you. The only person that even existed on his level in terms of talking that talk was G-Rap. You know what I'm saying? And he's just more charismatic and affable than G-Rap. You know what I'm saying? And so he is a victim of that. And so you do get tired of it a little bit. It's like, especially like, well, nigga, I can't afford a Warhol. So after a while, it becomes, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's different when he's talking about, pushing the newest car. Because it's like, well, that car is a little bit more attainable than a Warhol is. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, it's different when he's talking about, well, my ice ain't the same. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, it's not, but I'm not that far away from the jewelry that you rock. It's like, I can go to the Diamond District in New York and go get me some VVS paperwork, too. You feel what I'm saying?
And you also have to have a palate for some of those things, too. I think somebody could see a nice car, a fancy car, and if chicks like the car, too, you'd be like, yo, I want that car. But when it comes to art, you have to have, those experiences to be able to appreciate it.
You have to have an appreciation level, right? And so some of his balling in his later years, as he's gone from rich to extraordinarily wealthy, has been the fact that, well, Mike, I mean, everybody knows me this. I love some artwork. There's always artwork hanging on the wall in this house. My cousin's a painter. The guy who put me on the hip hop's a painter and an artist. I love art. I've always had an eye for art. I've always had an appreciation for art. Most dudes where we from don't. You know what I'm saying? And so you lose people in that. It's like, no, when Salvador Dali has an exhibit coming to Atlanta, no, I genuinely get excited. You know what I'm saying? When Van Gogh has an exhibit coming to town, I genuinely get excited. Most of us that come from the circumstances we come from do not feel that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, it genuinely excites me. And so he is talking over people's heads.
Yep. Zuri with the super chat says, I think those records you're referencing from Volume 1, Mike, were also Puff influenced. Weren't some of those records or beats originally for Big? Now I never heard that, but I know he recorded that album at Daddy's house, quote unquote. That was the name of Puff's studio. I'm just saying. Um, so yeah, I know that album was recorded there, and I think Puff's the executive producer of that album too, right?
Correct.
Or one of them. So yeah, I mean, obviously, and I remember the articles back then. I think it was The Source, where the Jay-Z interviews about Volume 1 were more so about him feeling like he had to basically take on and take over for Big.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
in the linear notes of the album.
yeah, so I don't know if Big lives if that album even sounds like that. So maybe some of those choices were based on the fact that that void was left and he felt like it was his responsibility as Big's guy and somebody who was already working with the camp to actually fill that void. I look at him opening up for Puff differently now.
How
Um,
so?
because knowing Jay and how smart he is and cerebral that he is, I feel like when he took the job at Def Jam, that was the president's job at Def Jam is what, 2004. I think that was Jay wanting to see firsthand what the inner workings of that industry was like so that he could branch off and do his own thing, right? I think that he was trying to get the system down. And looking back
Yes.
at it, I think that's what the Puff tour was too. He wanted to see the inner workings of how a major tour works, figured that out. Him and his team went and did the Hard Knock Life tour right after that. So,
I mean, a wise man once told me when I was in high school, Mike, that the only way to truly impact the system here in America the way that it's designed is to infiltrate it first.
right.
And so Jay mastered that as well as anybody in our community has in
He's
the
still
past
doing it.
quarter century.
He's still doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mad Max with the super chat says, if Big had lived with how, with Hove, I guess he says Hove. If Big had lived with how New York is, people would have been jacking Hove more eventually because that's how people are. Same way people say Beans was better than Hove, Big's Teflon because the brother's dead. And he was elite. I don't know, man. I mean, it's hard to
I
say.
respectfully disagree.
Yeah, me
'cause
too.
Part of the reason why Big's legacy lives so large and looms so large has nothing to do with his death and everything to do about the quality of work that he left when he died. You have to be careful about how you frame that. It's not about him dying, it's about the quality of work that he did while he was here.
I agree.
His death just magnified the quality of it. The quality stands, Mike.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, and I say this respectfully, he's a great lyricist, man. Big Pun, he has 2 albums just like Big did. And Big has a double disc, but there's levels when it comes to the quality of the material that they put out. And I remember my first time going to New York. It was like Puerto Rican Day Parade or whatever. I was just shocked. And this wasn't even that long after Pun had passed. Pun was immortalized in the city. You know what I'm saying? And rightfully so. He was incredible. But even with that being said, there's only a few Pun records that we hear. There are like 20 big joints that we hear from right now. And that's the music. That has nothing to do with how things turned out. Now, granted, him and Pac had the most publicized murders possibly in music history. But he has the music to actually, live on top of that as well. So I don't think it's
Mike,
just that,
this is what I mean about Big. No, I still wake up some days and have the urge to listen to Ready or Die or Life After Death.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I need to hear that Ready to Die. I need to hear that Life After Death. There aren't a lot of people that like make albums like that, where it's like you wake up one day and it's like, no, I think I want to hear Unbelievable and Everyday Struggle and The What. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, them records are special. That guy is special.
Thumbs up in the chat, y'all. Hit like and subscribe if you already haven't. We're about to really get into it. We're going to finish talking about this Jay situation, and we're going to talk about Rock the Bells and them ranking Shook Ones Part 2 as the greatest rap beat of all time. I think we got like the top 20 list. They did like 50, but we'll go through that too. But yeah, thumbs up in the chat. Humble Bragger with the super chat says, is this 9-minute Jay record called Epstein Island? I don't know. That sounds more like an Eminem record. I'm joking.
Both of y'all are wild.
But that's what Game
y'all are
said. That's what I could see. You couldn't see Eminem making a song called Epstein Island. I could. Mad Max of the Super Chat says, only you guys outside of New York in real time look at Big that way. I know old heads that told me Big wasn't bigger than meth until he died. See,
Those are lies.
that's how y'all do it in NY, man. Respectfully.
Those are lies.
Y'all gotta uphold your legends, man.
Those are lies.
Listen, at the time,
those are lies.
Method Man was my favorite rapper.
It's a ball
But there's
lies.
nothing that I could substantially even tell somebody as a Method Man fan in 1996, 95, 97 to substantiate why Method Man is better than Big. Because he out-rapped him on one song? Possibly, and that's even debatable.
First of all, I think the rap-off was a draw on the what. I think Meth has the best verse on verse 1. Big has the best verse on verse 2. In 1995, Meth has I'll Be There For You. Big has the One More Chance remix. So let's call those songs a draw. How about that whole Get Money remix, Mike? How about Get Money? How about Players Anthem? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
you didn't even mention
Can't
Juicy.
You See? Look, how about the Can't You See verse?
You didn't even mention Juicy.
It's like, no, that's crazy.
You didn't even mention Juicy or Big Papa either. I mean,
that's 94 shit.
Oh, okay, but I'm just saying, because Method Man dropped to Cal in 94.
I personally think that Bring the Pain is better than those records, but that's personal preference.
Huh. I think so, too. I'd pick
Bring the Pain's better than Juicy and Big Papa to me.
And Bring the Pain is better than Warning. I'm kind
of like Big. I like that street shit. You know what I'm saying?
Bring the Pain is better than Warning as well.
Fascinating. Yes.
I think it is.
Fascinating, though.
It's not by a lot.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, Bring the Pain is special to me.
But at the end of the day, Tikal ain't fucking with Ready to Die. And I say that respectfully. I love
very few
Method
albums
Man.
are fucking with Ready to Die.
Mad Max in the Super Chat says, I wasn't alive, Mike. That's what I was told. Now, I feel you. But I think sometimes what we do, unfortunately...
They told you wrong.
There's two things that happen. People do get inflated in death. Yes, it's true. That happens. But sometimes us knowing that happens, when somebody is truly worthy of the adulation, sometimes we minimize that. And I think that's what happens with Big. And Pac too. It's not about the fact that these guys died or were murdered. Look at the music. Look at what they left behind.
Listen to the songs now.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. And I'm not even talking about the songs that feed into those eerie narratives. I'm not even talking about you're nobody till somebody kills you.
Like, how about this? It's like Nas and JR are two greatest MCs, right?
Yep.
Mike, do a verses. You take Nas and Jay. I'll take Big and Pac.
Yeah.
You're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
You're in a lot of trouble.
They got timeless records. It is what it is. And when you look at Big's skill set, I mean, I'll go to the mat and say I feel like he might be overall the most skilled MC we've ever had. He had Scarface abilities.
Agreed.
He had whatever lyrical ability. He had Kane lyrical abilities. He had versatility that LL Cool J had. Like, he could do everything before people could do everything. That's the part. I think we're used to people doing everything.
I think he had Kane lyrical ability by the time 90. I don't think it's Kane lyrical ability on Ready to Die.
Out the gate,
I do get what you're saying.
I think out the gate, it's more of a Scarface. I would say it's more of a Scarface influence. But then
Scarface Ice Cube.
Yeah, and he started building on his style, and like you said with the Get Money remix, where he's like Frank Wright the Desperado, used to rock the all black Movado, the all black El Dorado, like
all that in a bottle of Dom P.
Can't harm me, I keep the armies. Brooklyn in the house without a doubt. I'm the rapper with clout. Everybody yap about. Check it out. Guns are bustin'. Problems with my wife don't discuss them.
Coops and Learjets, I lust them. Fingerprints, I dust them.
Yeah, now that's when he gets to that next level.
Bananas.
Firebird Phoenix with the super chat. Shout out to him. He says, we hit New York April 97 to hang loose, and we banged out on Life After Death, drinking Bacardi Limon and what was that? Batim Wildin' for 2 days. It was electric up there then. I could believe it. Like I said, my first time in New York, early 2000s, all they were playing was Big. The man had been gone for like 6, 7
Rightfully
years
so.
at the time. Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, I mean, he
Songs
has
are
the
classics.
records too. And
Records are classics.
as much as I love Big L, I wish we got more from L. But you can't tell me that we're out here playing 3 or 4, even 5 Big L records to the end of
I mean,
time.
respectfully to Big L, his most notarized records are Put It On, MVP, and Ebonics. That is
Straight
not
up.
big level.
Straight up.
It's not big level.
And honestly, his freestyle with Jay.
That's not big level either.
Yeah. So, we got to put some respect on the quality of material that Big put together in such a short period of time. And he wasn't really I guess he was a studio rat if you think about it, because he wrote a lot of the stuff. Well, he wrote the Junior Mafia stuff, a lot of the Kim stuff. He wrote a double disc. He did his album. And songs like Who Shot Ya, and then the remixes came in 95. So yeah, he was working.
His ass off.
And not to mention the features, because really, there could be an argument made that this man could be the feature king. I'll put Big's features up against Busta Rhymes' features any day. Yeah, I said it.
Busta Rhymes ain't winning that.
Okay. But I'm just saying, we don't even look at Big for those things.
I look at Big for everything.
Right.
I'm in agreement with you. He is the most agile MC to ever touch a mic, Mike.
Leroy Green says Big L was going to sign to Rockefeller. What do you think that would have looked like? I mean, I hate the sidebar, but I mean, while we're talking about
that's true. He was in talks with, he obviously had a relationship with Jay going back, and that was a talk in a situation that was going on.
Oh, Dame confirmed it. He had the flyer and everything. Yeah.
Mike, Big L, Jay, and Siegel on the same label? Ooh.
But I mean, what do you think Big L's records sound like?
I think somebody like Big L would have benefited from what Jay had learned about the game at that stage. And I think Dame and Jay would have crafted a more well-rounded version of Big L. We would have gotten better songs out of Big L. Like, we know the bars are there. You want to talk about somebody who's Kane-like with the bars? That would be Big L. Now, he's Big Daddy Kane, like reincarnated lyrically.
I can't help but think that
songs.
It's kind of like Sauce, though, man. It's like, and not saying that Big L and Sauce Money are comparable, but them being like lyricists on that level.
I think L better than Sauce.
I can feel you on that. And even though I love Sauce's wordplay, and I think that he is a big part of Jay taking his style to the next level as well. But from a song making perspective, are they not similar? Because I just think that Sauce just never had that production that fit with him for the times. I think Sauce would have been more successful in that early 90s era, and I think when things start changing in the late 90s, that adjustment wasn't bringing the best out in him. And I feel similar ways about Big L. Like, what type of records would we expect from Big L in 98?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, no, I think they could have. How about this? I'm not joking about that Kane comment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like that's the level that L was capable of operating on as an MC. It just hadn't fleshed out into full song form yet. And so I don't think Sauce has that. I love Sauce. Like, how about this? It's like, I could see Big L, not saying he would make this record, but I could see him making something like a Raw, a Set It Off, a Ain't No Half Stepping for the generation. I don't see that for Sauce.
I can see him making Raw. I can see him making Raw.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is it's like, and to be honest with you, like the big picture for me, the album, The Big Picture by Big L, it's like, no, Mike, he was almost there.
I do think that if this was going to happen, Jay as an artist and as an executive would have had to been all in. It couldn't have been no competitiveness going on. You know what I mean? Like the whole I'm taking the best beats thing. Like it would have had to have been more of a Common and Kanye situation. Like, listen, I'm here who I am. I'm gonna do my thing anyway, but I'm here to bring the best out in you. And I think that Siegel never really got that from Jay. I think Jay did it in the best way that he could, but it was more of a competitive fervor when it came to Siegel, as opposed to, yeah, I'm here to make you better and still be competitive. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, L's from Uptown, which is where Dame is from. So I think Dame would have had more of his hands around L than Jay would have. That's
Right.
for one. On
He
some
would have
Harlem
needed
shit.
Jay though. He would have.
Huh?
He would have needed Jay though.
That's what I'm saying about how he was a step away. It's like, no, what Dame had done with Jay and for Jay, I think he had plans to do the same thing for L. And so I don't think that he would have needed Jay as much. And also, too, I think because Jay, quote unquote, found and signed Beanie Siegel, well, I mean, L helped put Jay on.
Yeah.
And so the respect is different.
It's different.
And also, too, I mean, and this is going to seem crazy to say because you know how I feel about Beans, but just like Beans is great in a different way than L and J are great. L and J are great in similar ways, especially at the time with that really slick, hard punchline, that Kane shit.
Mm-hmm.
They both do that extremely well. And so I say this respectfully. Nah, L can fade Jay a little bit, like at his game, a way a Beanie Siegel couldn't. You feel what I'm saying? It's like, no, I can do that street slick ass Big Daddy Kane talk just like you, fam. Like Siegel don't really got that. Siegel's something different. Siegel's more of a Scarface type. It's just more lyrically inclined than Scarface. It's like, nah, L and J kind of come from the school of Kane and Cool G rap.
I would love to have heard L and Beans do a lot of stuff together too. That would have been dope. Mad Max with the super chat says, if Fab had hits using L's style, Big L would have had hits too. He had a Rakim. He had the Rakim of punchline rappers change how punchlines got set up. Imagine L on the Blueprint. What song would you have put L on the Blueprint? I don't know.
How about this? This is what I mean about how L can do some of the things that Jay can do. I could hear him picking up. Like, how about this? I could see lyrical exercise being 3 verses and L having the second verse in between Jay's 2 verses.
That's what I was going to say, too. I think lyrical exercise